shot it for that.
Yeah.
I think the main bedroom that the king sleeps. I always wanted to sleep in a king size bed.
What do you
Taking a picture, let's get the hell out of here.
About the area. Tonight we'll say a few more words. Judenplatz, the whole idea of the tour was as a result of the monument that's going to be built here, that you see in front of you in the central ground here. We did it also, why on this day? Because in a few days' time, on the 8th and 9th of November, is the eve of Kristallnacht, where they destroyed all the shuls as we know, and we thought it would be appropriate to come here and to dedicate this monument at that time, especially bearing in mind what occurred here a few days ago, a few weeks ago, with the elections. That gives it perhaps for us a little bit more meaning, and tonight we'll say a few more words about that. Now's not the time. I just wanted to say that, therefore, our last penultimate day, where we will dedicate, where we will commemorate Kristallnacht, will be at the Theresienstadt. And that's where we'll have our chance to dedicate the tour, as a matter of fact, and that again was the reason why we chose especially these dates, and the reason why we decided to come on this tour altogether, mainly to visit our community in Vienna. I just want to introduce three people to you. First, the Rav, Harav Pardes, Baruch haba. Nice to meet you. He's here. Rav Pardes will be with us this evening as well. Emir Hashem. Okay, Rav Pardes is the Rav of the Shul here, and of course does many other things that we'll introduce him. The second person I'd like to introduce is Professor Josef Grunberger. Professor Grunberger is besides being a professor at the University of Vienna, is the chairman of the Mizrachi, the local Mizrachi here in Austria, in Vienna, and he's a member of the World Zionist Organization, sure, president of the Zionist movement. Got his whole, we'll introduce him formally this evening. I'd just like to get the ceremony here. Mr. Nehemiah Gang, he's the vice chairman of the local Mizrachi, also active within the World Zionist Organization and the Zionist framework. He's going to talk to us over here. And then who's the Yankele? Yankele Grunberger is the son of the professor, chairman of the Kiva, runs the young group here in Austria, Vienna. He will talk to us downstairs at the museum. Downstairs at the museum. Now, once we finished here after Nehemiah, we're going to the museum. Only 32 people can get in at a time. We'll go per bus. Bus number 1 first, 2, etc. So everybody except for bus number 1, please wait. The first group will go, finish, come out, then the second group can go, and then the third group will wait for all of you after the tour. But please don't mix up like we did a little bit at Schönbrunn, because we all won't fit in. Okay, so that's it. I hand you over to Mr. Nehemiah Gang, and he's going to talk to us in Hebrew. English.
Wow.
So wrong. Give him a chance. Don't frighten him right at the beginning.
ברוכים הבאים. Welcome in Vienna in the name of our Rav, Rav Pardes, and in the name of our President, to welcome you, Soli, as the head of the entire group and all the Mishtafim of this week in Jewish Europe. What I wanted to explain to you in a few words before going down and having a look on the Churva, on the ruins of Jewish presence in the mid of the Middle Ages in Vienna, I want just to give you in a few words a frame of this Jewish life here. Here was the center of the first Jewish ghetto in Vienna. Here we see signs of Jewish community life. I want to mention 3 points. the time in which all things happen. Second, in which geographic Misgeret framework everything happened. And I mean geographic, the small geographic area of the Jewish community here. And third, what meaning, what was the importance of the Jewish medieval community here in Vienna within the Jewish history, within Jewish life in the medieval time. First of all, the time. The first mentioning of Jewish life is dated in the year 1194, close to 1200. There was a Jew named Shalom, and he was responsible for the money of the dukas, of the Duke, that was a very responsible job, and we find that he and 15, he was not here on the Judenplatz, but most probably the Jewish community was where the main synagogue is now, the Seitenstättengasse, and you will be surely, you will pass by, and he was killed with 15 of members of the community, and what is interesting is that the murders were trial, and they were found guilty and also killed, executed. This was surely not common in this time. He was killed in 1196. Then in 1243-44, the emperors here changed. There was a short time without management, and in this time, Chancellor Otto Karl from Czechia came and was here for about 25 years, and in this time the Jews sat down here on the Judenplatz, which is the highest point in the first district in the city. And in the 14th century, with the largest dimension of the ghetto, it has 70 houses with around 1,500 people. These 1,500 people were about 10% of the Viennese population. The city was quite a small city in that time. Here was you will see downstairs was the Bet Knesset, which was 2 times enlarged, and it has, in the end version, it has about 400 square meters. It was quite a big Bet Knesset. The main institutions of the community were, beside the Bet Knesset, was a hospital. The hospital was around the place of the Mizrachi house today. The numbers 8 and 9. Between the Knesset, you see the house.
The Mizrachi house right in front of you, the Mizrachi building, and that's where the whole thing started. The monument is here, the Mizrachi building, and see the monument right underneath is the Shul of the Or Zarua.
And the small square between the Bet Knesset.
So now we're inside the building of the Mizrachi in Vienna. We use this building, not right now because we're building, but inside the building is the Bet Knesset of the Mizrachi, the Talmud Torah of the Mizrachi is inside the Bnei Akiva, the youth organization, everything is inside this building, on the floor as well. No, it doesn't say. This is a building we got from the Jewish community after the war, and is our activity. Now, you saw outside the monument. You didn't see the monument, but there is the monument of for the Holocaust. And when they decided to put this monument on Judenplatz, they knew all the time that there should be a synagogue down underground the Judenplatz. So they decided before they put this monument, they will dig on a few places of Judenplatz, maybe they will find something. So they decided, okay, this is the last time we try to dig, and then they found the Bima of the Beit Knesset. So they found the Bima of the Beit Knesset and decided to open the whole Judenplatz in order to make people possible to go in the Beit Knesset they found. So the Knesset was burned down, I think it was told in 1421. So the problem was, on the one side we have the Beit Knesset, on the other side they wanted to put the Holocaust monument on top of the Beit Knesset. So what they decided is to close the Judenplatz, put the monument, and to make it possible through our building to go inside the synagogue. And we will go to the synagogue in another minute. Down here where we now stand, there will be a museum about the Jews in the Middle Ages. And the whole thing is a Jewish project. It's a project of the city of Vienna. And they are paying for everything. The idea comes from us, and we go together with the project, but it's their project and they pay for it and everything. So now you can follow me. We will go inside the Beit Knesset.
What was here?
This is the Bima, the first thing they found. As you can see on the Bima, when they opened it, and you can see now that it's the color of the stone was red, but now it's found the edges like they left it 500 years ago. So this was the Bima. Over there, in the Mizrachi, in the east, there was the Kodesh.
One drink.
Beautiful. Hello. Say it again, say it. South?
Come on.
South?
Yofi.
And they had also a synagogue here. Later on they prayed together with the Sephardic synagogue, and those people from them who stayed here are praying there. And there is also another synagogue of the Bnei Akiva that we have seen today. The Mizrachi is praying, mainly not the Mizrachi, because only the youth is praying there, and also the Mizrachi. And there is the great synagogue of Vienna today, which is this building, and we will go inside in a few minutes. It was built on the 20s of this century. It was a little bit demolished during the war. The building was captured by the Nazis. They had the command, the headquarters was just down here on what they call now the Swedenplatz. And they are praying here every day, Shachtis, Mincha, Ma'ariv, regular minyanim, regular shurim, and of course on Shabbat. I don't know if they told you, the Jewish community in Vienna is like 12,000. Figures are a little bit more because there are some Jews who are not registered in the Jewish community. They have here a Jewish school. Not a
state school or a cheder?
But it's not one of the community.
Right.
Right. And they have here the youth movement, they have here the Mizrachi, of course, the Bnei Akiva, which is the strongest one and the biggest one. All over the world now, the Bnei Akiva is the biggest youth movement. And, the Jewish community here after the war is mainly from Ostjugend, Jews who arrived here from Poland, from Romania, Hungary, and so on, from those countries, Slovakia and the Czech Republic also. During the time of the years 1967 and 1977, when there was no relationship between Israel and the communist country, Vienna was one of the main places that the Israeli government had positioned with people who came specially to arrange aliyah from those countries. You heard a lot of stories about that, I think. This, what we call Lishkat HaKesher in Israel, or Nativ, it was a secret organization that belonged to the Mossad and arranged the movement of Jews out from the communist country, especially from Russia, and also the connection with Jews in Poland, in the Czech Republic, and in some other countries around. And Vienna was the center of this arrangement. And from here, people went inside the communist countries, I mean the Israeli ones. Yeah. No, he was the second driver. He was the deputy director of this office.
So tell me what was the highlight of your...
Listen carefully. They are praying now in time, and then after directly they will pray.
and the Vice President, Mr. Nehemiah Citroen. Gang. Nehemiah Citroen, somebody else. Okay, Nehemiah Gang. Right. I don't know the rest of the community. I know them by face but not by name, and Professor Grunberger, when he does talk, will then introduce them. So, without any more words, I'd like to ask the Rav, Harav Pardes, to give us a Dvar Torah, to say a few words, and then we'll continue with the program. So please, let's be quiet. Let's give him the courtesy. Lechot Harav Pardes, Bakasha.
Dear Soli, the President from the Mizrachi community here in Vienna, Professor Grimberger, the Vice President, Mr. Nehemiah Gang, the Herren President, the Blazer Cohen, Khan, ברוכים הבאים בשם השם, מרנן ורבנן ורבותיי, welcome to Vienna, welcome. We stood today for a few hours in the Judenplatz, a small place from the Jewish history from Vienna that during a few hundreds of years used to live here a few 100,000 Jewish people. When we are walking Rosh Hashanah afternoon to Tashlich, and the Goyim are standing neighboring the Danube, and they are telling us that the Donau was black from Jewish people before the Second World War. And today we are sitting a few groups, 40 people, 50, 60 in the other side, 20 in the other side, a few black pieces from the big Jewish communities that used to be here in Vienna before the Second World and before a few hundred years in the Judenplatz. A few thousand people died there in this place that today is a big Bet HaKnesset, Be'ezrat Hashem, will be standing. In the last Shabbos we read in the Parashat HaShavua that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks with Abraham Avinu about Sodom and Amorah. One of the psukim is Za'akat Sodom va'Amorah ki raba v'chatatam ki kavda me'od erda na ve'er'e, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ha'ketza'akata asu kala ve'im lo eda. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that he hears a screaming from Sodom and Amorah, and he is going to see if actually it's really so bad or not. The problems from the grammar in this pasuk that the Ramban and the Ibn Ezra are trying to explain, that people in the name from the justice, in the name from the new movement, from democratic, that he Abraham Avinu, he is sitting על פתח אוהלו והוא יושב על פתח האוהל כחום היום. אברהם אבינו, 3 days after ברית מילה, he is sitting and he is waiting for guests. רש"י says, יושב על פתח אוהלו לראות אם יש עובר ושב. אברהם אבינו wanted to see if people on the street going up and down, walking up and down. That is the translation from Rashi. But I think Rashi means to explain us something.
Stop, they're always looking at me. Why are they looking at me?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you. And I sang the Shefianu not only because Sally asked me to do it, but because I think it's a very auspicious moment for us to be together on such an occasion. For me personally, to meet some of my friends, people I went to school with and B'nai Akiva with in South Africa, and generally for all of us to be together, I think it's time for Shefianu. And the rabbi spoke so beautifully about sending people to Yerushalayim, and so I'm going to sing for you, Yibanei HaMikdash, may the temple be rebuilt.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'll try to do something appropriate.
Because I'm not going to see Haider, we came here to see the Jewish community. And we came here to give strength to these people, and we came here to dedicate a monument. My friends, that's what we came for. We came And as a world movement, and I've introduced just some of the people, as a world movement operating today in 28 countries throughout the world, we're doing the exact same work that both the Professor and the Rav spoke about this evening. We are fighting for the continuance of Am Yisrael, of the Jewish people, both in the Golah and in Eretz Yisrael. And that's why we came here today. And when I first phoned Professor Grunberger and he told me the monument is not ready, he told me afterwards, and I spoke to Nehemiah as well, and they said that they've gone underground where they discovered the Shul of the Or Zarua. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, by us davening Mincha there today, we were the first minyan that Shul has seen in a number of hundreds of years. What does that spell out for the Jewish people? That is a message to the world. That is a message to the world that we will not be destroyed. That is a message to the world that we as a nation and we as Dati'im will fight for the continuance of the Jewish people, and that's why we bring a group like this both here and to witness the further destruction of European Jewry, where we're going to Budapest and to Prague afterwards. And my friends, that's the message that we leave here with the Austrian Jewish community. We leave them with a message that we came here dafka because of what has happened, and we came here dafka because of our support for you as a Jewish community, and dafka for our support 61 years after that terrible, terrible night where all our synagogues were destroyed, shattered to pieces, where we know that no person on this world, no matter who he be, will lift a finger to the Jewish people, and if he does, he will not succeed. We know that. We have hope and we have prayer, and for that reason, it is a very special honor to have been here, to have been with the community, to tell them our message, that you all have taken part in what I think is a very special tour and a very special mission. And with those words, we wish them Hatzlacha. We wish them Hatzlacha. We will continue to be in touch with you. And please God, we should be here at both the opening and the rededication, where we can honor those dead 65,000 Jews that were killed here in Vienna, the Austrian Jewish community, where we can come back and we can pay tribute to them, and we can say Kaddish at that monument. But when we say the Kaddish, we will know that with that monument comes a Jewish museum, and with that Jewish museum comes the Mizrachi house, the Mizrachi Hoys, and with that Mizrachi house comes the Talmud Torah, and with the Talmud Torah comes the Shiurim, and with the Shiurim, my friends, comes a young generation of Jews that will want, please God, to come to Israel, that will want to be Jewish and will identify with the Jewish people. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to ask Yecheskel. Oh, he's right. You gave me a mapolo today already for calling him Yecheskel. To say a few words on the Or Zarua, and in just calling on Yecheskel at this early stage, and I know our two are still there, I want to say to Yecheskel from the entire group, to Rachel, to Moti, and especially also to Israel, for all their organization, for all their assistance. Yesher Koach Gadol, thank you very much. You've all really been terrific. Yecheskel, Bakasha.
Okay, Tolan mentioned destruction of the Jewish people. When we are talking about destruction of Jewish people, Jewish life, we have to bear in mind one of the problems that Rabbi Yitzhak Or Zarua, who was the rabbi here in Vienna during the 13th, 12th century, who was here after studying, learning from other Balei Tosafot. He is one of the Balei Tosafot. His main fight was against those Rabbonim who got the job through the politics, what we call it. Because in those days, we call it today Rabbanim Mikar, which means Rabbanim which the government would like them to be the rabbis. They are not rabbis because they know Torah. They are rabbis because the government wants them. The parents wants them. And he fought against this. This was one of his main missions during his time here, by writing letters to others, and due those letters we know exactly what happened. Who was the Or Zarua? Okay. First of all, he was the best student of the Baal, the book which was written, Arugot HaBosem, Rabbi Abraham ben Azriel. He studied by Simche ben Shmuel from Speyer, and especially by the Rabbi Eliezer Halevi, who is mentioned very, very much in the Tosfot as one of the main sources of the explanations of the Gemara. He wrote also his monumental book, the Or Zarua, which is an ilchatic book concerning the figures of halacha which are in the Gemara. He was also not as a rabbi in town. He came to Vienna after studying in the Rhine area in Germany. He came to the Rhine area after he was raised up in Bavaria, in Bayern. And he made all this way, and don't forget, we are talking about the 12th century. From Köln, Speyer to Vienna. His son, the Maharach, Rabbi Chaim Or Zarua, they called him Or Zarua because he took his father's book and he made it, in a shortest way to give it to all the people. Also, the point of view that the Torah had to come to the people and not only to the Rabboni. And Rabbi Yitzhak Or Zarua, who was also the teacher of the Maharam, he is the one who gave the Maharam the thought. And I don't know if you are familiar with the story about the Maharam when they put him in jail and he died there. And he wrote from the jail a letter to the Jewish community in Germany, saying to them, as I learned from the Or Zarua, we, the Jews, we don't have a place here. We don't belong here. We have to go straight to Eretz Yisrael. And please, those efforts that you are making to make Pidyon Shvuim with me, I'm asking you and I'm commanding you not to do it. You are not able to do a thing against the Torah. And ein podim shvuim yeter al dameim, which means you can't. How do you say it in English? You don't have to pay ransom for a man more than he is worth. And he's saying about himself. So therefore, dear Jews, that's what he's writing. Don't stay here. Regensburg is not the place for you. Rothenburg is not the place for you. Go to Israel. Israel is the place for you. And bear in mind that this situation was on the 13th century, and he's telling them what he got from his teacher. from the Orza Ruhr. So what I have tried to explain to you now and to tell you now is some small, brief points of his Torah, who he was. By the way, his son, Reb Chaim, was the student of the Maharam, which means Torah is coming like this. And who was his son? Which they all together have the big connection between Vienna in one side and Prague in the other side. Through Rabbi Yaakov Alavan and some other big Rabbonim which have spent their time in Prague. So I do hope that during the next 7 days we will find some other Rabbonim to speak about. Thank you.
My friends, Professor Grunberg has given us a number of books. I only have one for two. I have some in German and the majority.
804, 839. I wasn't home, and afterwards I had her wedding ceremony of the Slovak president. So the tall building in front of us is the construction of the new National Bank of Slovakia.
20 years ago, something like that. And as you know, this yeshiva was one of the main two other yeshivot around the area of Bratislava. For example, not far from Bratislava is Galantak. There was also a famous yeshiva. The life of Torah in this area of Hungary was the main powerful stream in Judaism on the last 150 years. The only problem started when in 1939 this area became under the Nazi regime, and the Slovak government had paid to the Third Reich government 500 D-mark for each Jew that was transferred from here to Auschwitz. It's the only place that government has paid to the Germans to kill Jews. Now, we are walking straight ahead, and we should be facing the area where the Jewish quarter was. The buildings are the same buildings as it was before. There is only one exception, no Jews there. There is a Jewish community here, a very small one, some younger, some mainly old people. With a Jewish kitchen, as they call it. Now they have a restaurant there, but it's not for the elderly people, you know. A synagogue, which you can pray every day, they are praying there. It's not here, it's in the middle of the town, in the new part of the town. So let's go further on. We shall give a look to the Jewish quarter, and if you will see, there is a small street going up there.
Yeah.
It's called until today Żydowska, which means the Jewish street. Okay, let's go. The truth is, don't look at this, look at the wall.
The wall behind.
Because if you will look at the wall, this is the edge. was here, this is the toilet was up, so up, and from time to time down. So this whole area was an area, what we call an area of Torah. You can see the building here, the sketch. They made it stretch in the wall, and they created as it was before. So remember that 20 years ago, the yeshiva was here, the Jewish quarter was here before. If we would like to emphasize exactly since when Jews have stayed in Bratislava, it's since the 13th century. We have documents showing it. People who want to have time and go to the Hebrew University, to the Machon, Kivei Yad Ivrin, you will find there some documents saying about, telling you the story about this place. Since then, Jews have moved from here inside the town, and they were sent out from the town. So when they have been sent out of the town, they moved to this area because they were protected by the king. They were what we call the rechush, the property of the king. Yeah. So therefore, the Jewish quarter here is beneath the castle, and therefore you can find, it's not only here, you can find it in many places in Europe, that the Jewish quarter or the synagogue is not far from the castle, because Jews have been protected, and they were under the auspices. It's not a real assault. They were protected by the king. They were, you know, if someone has done any harm to a Jew, so one Paris can go to the other one and say, hey, your native have killed one of my Jews, so give me your native, I want to kill him. Yeah, that's, this is what we call Patanchne Provenza. Okay, anyhow, we will go now a little bit further on the steps. Now it's simple. We will go up a little bit and then look again to the...
This is the Jewish quarter of Bratislava, which was in Pittsburgh. On this side of the highway. It's Oxford Street, Jew Street. That's where the yeshiva stood. The church there. And the Jewish quarter was on the side.
We all live in Pittsburgh on the Danube. I'm sorry you have a picture on the Danube.
The edge of the Danube is this area, construction area, and that's where the Jewish cemetery used to be, right near the area. There's a train line and this whole area behind us here. Through here is where people are queuing up and waiting to go down underground to carry the Chacham cycle. Where the girls queue. Here comes the train. This is the kever, this is the Tzeiler, or the kever Eiger. Here's the kever of the Chacham cycle. This is the Tzeiler of
Okay,
Chacham
Samuel, go.
Yalla. You coming?
I think tomorrow.
And then the next day they leave to come back again.
I'll just leave this on for a couple of hours.
Jeez.
Show the
Look at
people.
those oaks.
Goodness, eh?
All the way down there.
Oh no.
Oh, a lady from
Okay, listen, Raquel, we can have a group photo now.
Don't we have a guide here to explain to us? Who's the guide?
Ronnie. Yeah?
Ronnie?
What?
You're the guide?
Do I look like Moses?
You want me to guide? That's the bridge.
Are you the guide? Now please tell us what's going on.
Nice, eh?
You know where is our hotel? Where's the Hungarische Hotel?
Come on, folks.
All right, listen.
Seems so westernized looking, eh?
This was heavy communist.
Really?
And it's a lot of shopping area. Our hotel is on the street. This is one of the drags. There are a lot of drags in.
What was that?
When we get to the hotel, we get off the bus. I ask you again and again. I'm going in with Isabel to try and do the rooming list and the keys as soon as possible. You check the compartments, the floors, the seats. I knew. And I was the you heard me.
Are you going to join us, Raquel?
Danny, I'm just going to...
government, the Glassman, had changed their mind and they didn't take them. So the ship turned around and went to the United States. But the United States didn't take them either. And they went from country to country, and nobody would take the Jews. And in my opinion, that's what Hitler was watching. And when he saw that nobody cares about the Jews, he knew that he can do exactly what he wants to do. In 1942, my father and all the able-bodied men from 18 to 65 was taken to the so-called labor camp. And there was in Budapest from that day on only women and children. We all had to wear a yellow star. And a couple of months later, even houses were designated with yellow star where we all had to move. Our particular house wasn't, so we moved in with some neighbors, but those days were good because we still had a room available. The days got worse and worse. We couldn't go out to buy food only at certain hours, and everybody was listening, what is the way to escape. And my mother heard that there was an orphanage which was under the Swiss government protection, and somehow she found me a place, and I stayed there. At the same time, she went to find a place for herself, and there was a man who was giving out protection papers. We later on find out that this was your mother. So she stayed in this house where every room, every corner, a different family. And every day, at least once, the Germans came to check the papers. And if you can picture this house that is a big model with huge staircases and people inside the apartment, and to hear that the German boots are coming from door to door to check the papers. And my mother tells me that in the apartment where she was living, there were 7 families, 6 of them with forced papers, and one was the one with the real one. And that family wasn't so worried because theirs was actually a real paper. And the third day when the Germans came to check the papers, they took this family away because their papers looked different than everybody else. And they were taken down to the Danube, and since we are here the last 4 days, we hear about the Danube, that it's not blue, it's not black. In 45, it was red. In 44, and it was all from Jewish blood. And this is not the story, it's clear. All the Jews who were taken off the streets were just killed by the rebels. So my mother stayed there, and I was in the orphanage. And the day when she left me there, she gave me a salami, and she said, you say this when you absolutely must do it because you're starving. And every night when everybody went to sleep on the mattresses, because this orphanage was probably took about 40 children during normal time, this time we were wall to wall on the floor on the mattresses. So when everybody went to sleep, I took on my salami for a smell. I think that was home, that was mother, that was family. And one night when everybody was already sleeping, I heard at the end of the corridor, the caretakers were saying that we're taking the children to the bed. So I wrote a postcard to the one Jewish person who I knew that my mother told me that everything happened, so I was to write to her. And you have to understand that these were days when everybody was against the Jews, and this is days before the mail was automated. It went through this postcard probably 10 or 15 hands, and it said, Mom, they're taking us to the ghetto. Nevertheless, the postcard was delivered, and 3 days later, when we were taken to the ghetto, mother said that, I didn't see any magic out on the courtyard. So we waited another day, we didn't see any movement. So she got dressed with the desert woman, and she went out to the street, and that's how we find out that the war was over. My mother said that let's go back to grandmother's house, and let's clean her apartment, that by the time she comes back, she has a nice place to stay, but nobody came home. I know you didn't ask me for a comment. I know you asked me for a story. But I think that this can happen anytime, anywhere. Except the only difference that nobody will be there. And if we don't have a problem ever again, we have a place that we go. The other comment is that I know that there are lots and lots of people who feel that we shouldn't come back to Austria, we shouldn't come back to Germany, we shouldn't come back to Hungary, but I think we should, and we should show that yes, we are back and human rights and probably stronger than ever.
Only street shul, the largest shul in Europe.
Depends. There are several neological communities in which, just like I think the conservative, not every community is the same, So in this synagogue they sit in the same hall, but in separate sections. And they actually the three communities, the two communities, there was a congress held here in 1867 in which they tried to make not to make a compromise, that it will stay one community, but then they could not come to an agreement, they could not find any solution, so the community was divided, and actually it was divided in three, not in two. One were the Orthodox, the other community was the Neologists, and the third community was the status quo. They wanted to distance themselves from either side, not to be identified neither with the Orthodox nor with the Neologists. So till this day we can see on our way three different synagogues, one of the status quo, this one of the Neologists, and another one of the Orthodox. So let's go. I think it's better that we start our tour first, and then we come back to the
movement. He went more extreme and said, Hadash Asul Torah, and to make ourselves different and to stand out with our difference while they are becoming more like the people around us, like
When was the show built?
Built in 1856.
This was built in 1859.
Budapest
is also the place where Theodor Herzl was born. He has a plaque here on the wall. You can see there's a plaque on the wall that commemorates the visit of the president of Israel, Chaim Herzog. And today it's a very big place. There's a Jewish museum here, which we'll be going into, and it's a bookstore. It brings a lot of the tourists who come here. Their services mainly on Shabbat. In back of the Beit Knesset, there's a cemetery. There's a cemetery. In general, the direction we'll be walking in is this way, inside the Gesalach, inside the little streets and lanes here. The streets and lanes here were part of the Jewish ghetto. In 1944, when the Nazis came into power, came into Hungary, they moved the Jews into the ghetto, and this whole area inside, which we'll be walking along, was the Jewish ghetto. Now, when the Jewish ghetto was here, they couldn't use the cemetery that was in another area, and so the people that were killed during or died during the war, and of course most of us know that one of the ideas of the ghetto was not only to get the Jews together till the final solution, or till they go off into the camps, are deported, etc., but it was a way of also depleting the Jewish people by hunger and by terrible conditions. And many, many people died within the ghetto, and
Israel wants you.
Okay, we'll go in and we'll talk after, because
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take you back.
I have to get a couple of shots of your camera. And I'll come back, I'll video. Right. Set. No. Okay.
It's like being at home, right?
It's a rebel. You got a breakaway, right? Breakaway.
Where's Paul?
Come on, because the next group is coming in. We're working on a round. As I said outside, this is, it was built in 1869, the shul. It has over 3,000 places to sit. The difference, Lahavdil, is built like a cathedral, as somebody noticed. There's the center aisle and two steps on the side with the columns. The difference of the importance of the shul, of the rabbi's drasha, you can see as they have as well. The pulpit is on the side of the Makom Kavod. The bima, which used to be normally in the center in the Orthodox shul, has been moved. And people. North of the Could you imagine having a wedding? We were talking outside that they changed
Big wedding.
the place of the chuppah from outside, as was the minhag in Orthodox in the Orthodox community. The minhag was having the chuppah under the stars. Here it was done. The chuppah was inside. Many of there were Orthodox rabbis that said the chuppah doesn't even count because it was inside, but that's the way minhag was. On either side of the Aron Kodesh, there's a room, so a thriving room, since they weren't allowed to have yichud before the chuppah, and the chuppah was inside, so there's a room on either side. One is for the bride, one is for the groom, on either side of the Aron Kodesh. As you can see, it's very elaborate. Any questions?
What size minion do they get on Shabbos?
What time is minyan? No,
What size? How many people use this shul?
It varies. Now. It varies. It's a sukkah. Usually, I started telling you outside. Look, there's another shul in the garden, in the backyard here, called the Giborim Shul, which is used on a regular basis. The shul is only open on Shabbos usually. This shul, and they don't use it during the week, and they use the shul in the backyard here. There's another shul that's used on an everyday basis. In the backyard as well, in the garden, there's the cemetery, there's the other shul, and there's a memorial which we'll be seeing later. There's a memorial to the Jews of Budapest that were killed in the Holocaust. Also, money put up by Tony Curtis. It's in the shape of a weeping willow. It's very
What is this?
War. Yes, Autobahn Ludwig. For the Jewish community of Budapest was like 230,000 people.
And today?
I beg pardon?
Today?
Today it's like something like, in 76 I think there were like 10,000 people, but they're not all affiliated, and it's...
How many are affiliated to this killer?
Today is also, by the way, today there's a renewal of the younger community. There's Talmud Torah here, there's the Nialog community, and a Beit Midrash Rabbanim, and they put out Rabbanim for the communities throughout Europe. There were institutions, hospitals. It was a very flourishing, vibrant Jewish community in Hungary, and what's left of it is very little.
Neolog the majority now?
Very little majority. So, even though you have Hasidim, you have the... So again, describe what Neolog is again. Like a conservative? Our best definition, conservative reform. It's not reform, and it's not modern orthodox. I would say the best, there's a section. Conservadox is a very good. Conservadox is a very good definition.
Hell, I saw there's a yeshiva here too.
Where's that?
There's a yeshiva here as well.
Where? In the Talmud Torah here. And also we'll see it as we go by.
Why did the Nazis let these go?
One is the museum piece. It was damaged. It wasn't destroyed. And second of all, don't forget the Nazis came into Hungary late 44, March of 44.
They were on the decline.
Late. They had enough work to do, and they did enough damage, etc., but basically...
And they were already losing the war by the time they were decided to march in.
Do they speak Yiddish here?
Yes, they spoke Yiddish as well.
They speak Hungarian.
I know.
They speak Yiddish.
They speak Yiddish. A lot of them Hungarians don't
But they speak Yiddish. Again, it depends. Many kinds of masculine would not speak as much Yiddish as they... You know, Hungarian newspapers are Hungarian. So I think the organization, I know that was born here in forbidden from the Torah. And his big fight, one of the things that he went out against was the reformation, the Neolog, the reform, conservative, all these new streams of Judaism he was fighting against. And of course, when you fight against something, the one becomes more extreme and the other becomes more entrenched. So, and that's why he came up with the idea. Yes, you can walk around and take pictures. No.
Lel, come on. So if you just got the side of the short.
Also, quiet, please. The cemetery that was used during the war in the ghetto from 1944 when the Nazis came into Germany and everybody was in the ghetto. They used this cemetery because there was no other place to bury the dead. You have here as well two other things. Adjoining to the Beit Knesset, there was the house that Theodore Herzl was born in 1860. Exactly in this area. You have also a remembrance to the Jewish Hungarians were very nationalistic. They had a very strong nationalistic feeling towards Hungary. It didn't help them in the long run, but they were very nationalistic, and in the First World War, they went to fight for Hungary in the First World War. There's a memorial plaque on the side that says, the Zechar Giborim.
Is that a mic? Yeah, it's a mic. I can't hear what you're saying now. I'll never forget it.
It's the Zechar the Giborim that fell in the war. It doesn't say which war. It's referring to World War I. And the Beit Knesset that is The other side of the courtyard is called the Knesset HaGiborim. It's in memory of the Giborim, the brave Jews that died in World War I for Hungary. Okay, let's go to the Jewish
Get a help them. This one. What kind of look is Haftarah's ground? Haftarah?
Haftarah's Amor. Amor. Haftarah's Bahar. Haftarah's Bechikato. These are the laws.
But we have a country home farm, and they're coming forward. They said they were there possibly about 2,000. No, the other way around. I'm sorry, the other way around.
Tourist ground used as billiards. The trees made out of solid.
Do you think
it's so confusing? Stucco box with shape of cotton. Picture book.
And his family.
The post office manager in
Yes, sir.
the 3rd
Yes, sir.
century
He's from
down north of
the
Budapest.
Roman Empire territory.
Wow.
It is, at that time, that had no Hungary. That name was Pannonia. In a country name, was the first time Pannonia. This from a Pannonia time.
And this one?
The same thing. There's the third one like this.
Wow. This is fascinating, eh?
Yeah. From a 3rd century. Oak is a god.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily Jewish.
Yes, it is Jewish, but in no Hebrew language, it's Latinic language. The old Ladino, they say, Ladino language.
Oh, Ladino.
Ladino.
Number 6. Number 6 here was used. First of all, there was a lot of forgery of papers for safe houses in Hungary going on in conjunction with the Swedish government and the Swiss government and Swiss diplomats. It was Raoul Wallenberg, and it was Karl Lutz, who was the consul of Switzerland here. And some of the papers they got, they gave protection papers to the Jews. Some were legit, some were manufactured, home manufactured. In the bottom of this building here, there was a printing press that was printing out papers for the Jewish people for protection and safe houses. In this building here, there was a few of the members of the Asael family that are living today in Israel. Mizrachi people were working out of this building as well. In the basement, there was a printing press, and they would go out as couples and bring out the papers and distribute them. If you turn to your left, who can tell me what a nice mosque that is? You see the turrets there?
Yeah.
What kind of mosque do you think it would be?
Russian Orthodox.
Islam. Let's go find out. On the sidewalk, please.
That's a shul, man. A shul?
What we're looking at is obviously not a mosque. It's a shul. It's called the Rumbach Shul. It was built in 1872 by Otto Wagner. The architect, it's a status quo shul. Status quo to remember the people that didn't want to mix in. We don't want this and we don't want this. We want to keep our as we are. Status quo. This is the Rumbach Shul. It's closed. It's been closed for a long time. At this point, it isn't being remodeled. You can't go in it. But as you can see, how glorious it was, what building was put into it. It's phenomenal. It's in Moorish style. As you can see, some of the buildings here, and it gives the impression from the distance of the minarets of a mosque. But it's the same thing. The Dohani also has long spires, and it's called the Rumbach Shul. 1872. Otto Wagner.
Across the Chopé, it's been boarded up with the wood planks. Rumbach Street shows in this road.
Man, one soul,
It's like he said.
the whole world.
Yeah, it's a Gemara.
That's from Pirkei Avot.
Yeah. Sanhedrin.
Well, she reads it. It's a memorial. Karl Lutz, who was the consulate of Switzerland that helped the Jews. This memorial, for some reason, kind of a shmata, helping the person on the street. If it's bandages, if it's a helping rope, if it's everybody their own interpretation. So basically, it goes on the principle of kol hametzil nefesh echad ba'olam kilu hetzil olam kulo. Anybody that saves one soul in this world is as if it saved the whole world. And it's a memorial to Karl Lutz.
Who did you say he was? Who did you say was he?
Get you and your wife on the video.
Swiss consulate.
Come on.
Oh, you're nice killer.
But you should line with us, dude.
Yes, we'll do.
Is it going red? Is the red thing going round? Push. Okay. I'll give you a copy of this, don't you worry.
Don't move, I want to take a picture of your leg. Don't move, I want to take a picture of your leg.
Whoever photographs one leg is as if he's
Not for
photographing
me.
the
Not me. Definitely not me. Ben!
Move away from the
A Hungarian dog.
Okay, fine, but take the
How do you turn it off?
We're going to keep marching. What are we stopping?
It was built in 1913, and if you look on top, which is very hard, I don't want to shut the door because there's another entrance, main entrance. You can see on top, Ma נורא במקום הזה, אין זה כי אם בית אלוהים, וזה שם השמיים. You can barely see it. Sound is our Chazal, and this is the Orthodox shul of the how mosque is placed, because it is the house of God, and it is the gateway to heaven. We're going in, we're going in. The shul is the Orthodox.
Conventional check, it's all conventional.
See it close up.
Yeah, you can, sure.
They serve all day. Till 3. And Shabbos too, yeah. They have good Hungarian food too. And okay, come.
Okay, Kelly, you got your stuff?
You know what, we've decided. We're going to make you 2 Arcades.
If you give us those golf carts, we'll carry one. This is the Jewish quarter.
This is the Jewish quarter.
The facade of the price of the building from Shaliz. She's very nervous. Now? So did you enjoy your visit here now? Good?
On it. Bakasha.
Michael, you want to go on it and I'll take a photo?
Oh, you can't go in.
Climb over the top.
The climb over the top, okay. That tiny good for the whole thing, eh?
You guys would not know. Have you ever seen snow in your whole life?
Very occasionally, yeah.
I guess there's nothing wrong with that. They don't mud off the land. I mean, yeah, because they're very spiritual. I thought that unlike the Glassman group may or may not be religious, South Africa is very spiritual, very sensitive to things and very
The Budapest Jews that were killed in the Holocaust.
And these were, this was all organized by
It wasn't all organized by Soldier. A lot of his support came to this. Obviously, he had Hungarian roots. He has a Jewish name that I can't remember.
Tony Curtis. Yeah.
Bernie Schwartz.
Bernie Schwartz, that's it. Bernie Schwartz.
Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis did all of it.
Yeah. Bernie Schwartz.
Shana Yid.
Wow.
Amazing parking as a commercial market.
And we don't know where he is.
Yeah. Tens of thousands of Hungarian Jews. The safe house that was used to smuggle Jews and to keep them from being deported.
He's a martyr? 3,000 people?
No, he was murdered, but because of him, thousands of people have been alive.
But what does it say martyr like? He became a martyr?
Yes, because
he died?
He died.
Oh, he died on behalf of the life.
Yes. Okay, folks, I will go to the other side and I will tell you exactly the story. The name of this building is the Building of the Glass, or the Glass Building.
Glassman building.
They call it in this name because of the stones made of glass that they are there, and all here, what you see now, it's not the same as it was in the wartime. So it was all built with those stones of glass, and therefore they call this building the Building of the Glass, or the Glass Building. The story of this building began when the owner of the factory that was here, a Jew named Arthur Weiss, have left those people who got the false documents and those who had also true documents, that they are able to be under protection of the Swiss embassy or the Spanish embassy or the Swedish embassy, that they can go inside this building and then to put the flag of the Swiss embassy on top of it, and by that to declare that this building is protected by those embassies. And the building was a small one. Even though there is a huge yard inside, they have to decide out what to make and how to find a place for everyone. Therefore, they got an idea. You see this nice building here with the TV around it and everything. This was the main center of the Football Association of Hungary. During the last days of the war, there was no football games and nothing, and the building was empty. No one was in. So they broke the wall between the two buildings. They, as they said in Yiddish, they kicked in, angekommen, to the other building. In this part of the building, there are some doors here. It's the same doors that was in the wartime. The people who lived in these doors, their papers were the real good papers. The original ones. The others have moved in and moved to the other building. So they could stay inside between 2,000 to 3,000, no one counted them. Each night, the youngsters from the Mizrachi movement here in Budapest went to the ghetto, this area, who came now from the ghetto. The area of the ghetto was surrounded with walls, but they have found the way out, smuggled people from there, giving them the false documents, bringing them at night to this building, and letting them go in and staying in refuge. Because of this story, because mainly the people who were inside were people of the Mizrachi. Because, you know, first of all, you are trying to assist. And then you are bringing others. Even though for the others, there were other buildings also. There was the Swedish, this Raul Wallenberg place. There was the Spanish one. And was another one for the Swiss people who held the Swiss documents. Mainly the Mizrachi guys have brought in, and they have stayed in here until the end of the war. 3 days after the war, after the Russians came in, only then they opened the doors and went out. Because they were afraid about what happened in Buda when the Germans struggled between them and the Russians, and then the Russians occupied the area from the Germans. The Germans attacked again, And in between Jews, when they saw the Russians come in, they moved out, and they were captured, brought to the Donau, and the Germans shot them. So, according to what we know, the Donau was red with blood during those days.
Danube.
Donau, the same name. So therefore I brought you to this building to see the place and to hear the story. Okay. If some of you want to take interest on the yard inside, we are moving back to the map.
Thousands of people. This is the safe house.
Died during the Second World War in Hungary on our left side, and now very soon we are going to later on. He was here. You will be able to see the Parliament building. You can see the main entrance. Of course, this is the entrance which is system against the Russians. And the Parliament building has this very interesting structure, which means that although the main entrance faces this square, but the main facade of the Parliament faces the other side. It faces the river Danube, and you will be able to see that from the other side. I have mentioned that Hungary because during that period, Hungary was part of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy, part of the Habsburg Empire, and so during that period, the parliament, the own parliament, was always the symbol. Second prize winner of the special competition in the last century, after the code for the railway transportation, and the other 7 bridges are used for normal traffic. On our right side, in the park, in the middle of the park, see the Margaret Bridge. Behind the island, behind the bridge, you will see a small island, the Royal Palace of Hungary, and then the next bridge is the Chain Bridge. Behind the Chain Bridge, symbols of the city, and we are going to visit all these parts during our tour. And now on our right side, you can see the Margaret Island. Of course.
There's really nothing, it's like excavations, it's not in use, it's excavated, there's nothing in there. Forever. Larry?
But this should have been coordinated, ladies.
Close on Monday. Close on Monday. Wednesday?
What is today?
So what you're saying is that this whole area, in the 13th century, on the site of Buddha was a Jewish area.
Buddha had Jews. I wouldn't call it a Jewish area.
Very quaint area, huh?
This is the part of the old city. This is the older. This needs the house. We can. What kind are you looking for? Harris?
Near the St. Stephen's Park.
Oh, it was near St. Stephen's
Yes,
Park.
and now there is a new one there, which is another Wallenberg Memorial, which is
Wallenberg Memorial. Wallenberg fighting the snake, which was the Nazis. The 2 stones representing the Holocaust.
erected for the memory of the Russian soldiers that participated in the liberation of Hungary and Budapest during the Second World War. And after the year in 1991, when the last Soviet soldiers left the country, the argument started about what to do with it. And then the two important parts of the monument had been removed. If you look up there, on the front side, you can still see the green mark, which left the stains of the surrounding of a red star. So you can still see the shape of the star and two holes, how it was put up. So that was the place of the red star. And then underneath, on that platform, above the rising level, there used to be the statue of the Soviet soldiers. So those were the two parts that were removed. And today they are out in a special statue park, which is outside Budapest, where all these removed statues are gathered.
It's a statue cemetery. They retired them.
One bigger statue holding an olive branch in her hand, which is the symbol of liberty and freedom. This statue is a male figure fighting against the dragon. So that's the dragonizer, and that's the symbol of destruction, the symbol of progress. And so that is why...
The view from the monument. Famous bridge. Oh, this is nice, man.
You'll hear him. Tell me you'll hear him. To listen and to hear.
Good.
Don't worry. What I would like to tell you is two things. Except about rabbis that have been in Hungary during the time since the 13th century. I would like to tell you something how the Hungarian Jewry was created. Because if you know or if not, during the years in Hungary there were Jews, but not so many. Not so many as in Poland, not so many as in Czechoslovakia, what we call Czech, not Slovakia, and not so many as in Racine. Racine is a part of the Ukraine and Germany. If we will try to figure how many Jews have been in Hungary during the time between the 13th century and the beginning of the 19th century, the average was in between 15,000 at most. But there were two movements that gave the push to the Hungarian Jewry. One of them was after 1648, Gzerot Tartak, Khmelnytsky. A lot of Jews have run away from parts of the Ukraine and Poland and arrived in the area of Berdiov, Košice, in the north part of Hungary, Eger, small portion in Miskolc, and that's it. But the beginning of the 19th century and the frustration of Jews inside Poland and the Ukraine, that they couldn't make themselves good life, pushed them to leave those areas, especially the area of Galicia, which was in those days a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they moved in between the Austro-Hungarian Empire to another part in the empire, to Hungary. In this situation, they found themselves creating new communities. And mitbolel sein, with the
Simulate.
Yes, but no, I'm saying in mitbolel in brackets. And therefore I used it in Hebrew and not assimilation, which is another connotation at all. With the Jewry of Hungary, and creating the same system of life that was in Poland, which means establishing yeshivot. There were small yeshivot before that in Hungary, very small, very little yeshivot, and trying to be involved more and more in the political life of the country that they are in. So this is one thing that I would like to tell you, as we said, to make the machshava in some seder, in order. So those people who are coming from Hungary, and they don't like the Polish Jewry, be careful. They are from the same roots. This is one. Second, I would like to tell you some other things concerning those Jews, rabbinical authorities, who have been in Budapest, and I'm not telling you nothing about Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, who was in Bonn, which is not Budapest, the native country, town, no? Okay. I would like to tell you
sorry to interrupt you. You said there were two main trusts. The one was Khmelnytsky, which forced the Jews of Poland.
And the economic situation during the beginning of the 19th century.
Looking for a better life, which they
yes.
thought they found.
And please don't forget that in the area of Hungary, there was in the area of Tokaj and Eger, that was the reason why Jews settled there. The vineyard started to be a part of the Jewish life. They bought the vineyard and they produced wine all over Europe, not only kosher wine, wine as wine. And this is the reason why they moved to this area. Okay. First rabbi that we found them sitting in Budapest was Rabbi Avraham Cohen. He is mentioned in one of the shutim of Baal Tumat Adeshen, and because of that we know they called the area of Buda Oven. In Gittin it's written Oven the Yetve al Nahar Danube. And there was a question there, and he answered him the question, the Mahari answered him the question. And because of that, we know that this rabbi was existed in the 15th century in Budapest, in Buda. There was another rabbi that was in Oven. The Mahara means he was this unique person that because of him, the community of Budapest started to flourish as a Jewish community. He came from Poland. He was born in Podolia, in Poland, and he moved to this area. And between him and some others, I will mention Rabbi Eliyahu ben Pinchas ben Meir from Vienna. That was the rabbi of Old Oven during the beginning of the 19th century. He wrote the book Sefer HaBrit, which is almost an unique encyclopedia telling us problems in religious affairs in one side and Madaim science in the other side. And of course, one of the biggest rabbonim who served his people not only in Budapest, but also in Kolin, which is in the Czech Republic today, Zermatt, Asod, as they call it here, was the Rabbi Binyamin Ze'ev ben Shmuel Alevi Boskovich, born in Boskovich in Moravia. He wrote the Perush Seder Mishnah, which is the Perush for the Mishnah Torah. He wrote another two books, one of them Shushan Eidut al Masechet Eduyot, and he was the guy, if I may tell it like this, that wrote to Rabbi Yechezkel Landa, we are going tomorrow to Prague, the Nola Yehuda, some letters, which from those letters we can understand the beginning of the problem of creation of the Reform in the area. As you know, the Reform movement began in Germany and got the biggest push from one named Harav Abraham Geiger, and I'm saying Harav and not Rabbi because he was a real rogue. Unfortunately, he decided that he's going to change his mind. But he had a smicha, a real smicha, and he went to Breslau in Poland, and started to push the people to change their life, to change their attitude. And he had done it in one way. He thought to himself, if I will call in Poland and in Hungary, if I will use the word reform, no one will come after. So therefore, I will use another term, people in my batch heard it from me, so they are hearing it the second time, but never mind. I will use the term neologic. And by this, he found the way to their art. And when there was the biggest congress of the Hungarian Jewry in 1868, after the big war between the reforms, the neolog movement and the Orthodox movement, the truth is that the neological movement had the majority. There was another problem with it, because there was a huge part of the Hungarian Jewry that didn't want to interfere in this machloket. They called themselves status quo. And because of that, they became the biggest community, and they got from the government the power to deal with the Jews and with the Jewish life, and to be the head of the Jewish community. Otherwise, if I may say so, because what I'm saying to you is a problem. I'm speaking to you now from the point of view of an historian, and not in the point of view of a sociolog. I mean, one who is dealing in social affairs. And because they will say to you that there might be another siba, another reason for it. But so what I have tried to show you, that this community here was a community in growing. Even the neological ones, they had their own life of Torah also. They had their own yeshiva here in Budapest. Until today, the Beit HaMidrash LaRabbanim belongs to them. And during the time between 1967 and 1989, this Beit Midrash produced Rabbanim for the whole area of the Eastern and the communist countries. So what I have tried to do now is to tell you some information that could assist you to understand what happened here, especially after you have been seeing the neological synagogue, which is a big synagogue, and on Saturday we are going to pray in a synagogue that was a neologic. Now it's an Orthodox. The Jerusalemska was a neological one. Even we don't want to admit it, but that's the truth. They didn't use the organ in Shabbat, but they tried to push to it. So what I have tried to make the connection between Hungary in one side, Czechia in the other side, we are going there, some Rabbonim which served in both sides, and we shall continue later on, not today, with some more information about figures, especially in Prague, which was the main place for big Rabbanim to stay there. Thank you.
Budapest.
Hungarische Gulasch.
the market in Budapest with a lot of things. Now we're talking Look how he's salivating. Look how he's salivating.
Waiting for this nice kosher confection. What can I say?
Okay.
I'm Lottie Tugendorf from Melbourne, Australia. I was 1938, in October, 28th of October 1938, the Gestapo came to our house and took threw us all out to Poland. My parents were Polish, although I was born in Germany, and all the children, we were all born in Germany, but the parents were Polish. They had, so they wanted to get rid of all the Polish Jews from Germany, and they took us with a train to the border.
Listen here.
It doesn't matter. And they all put us on the train, and the Germans didn't let us back in, and the Polish wouldn't let the Jews in. They didn't want to have more Jews. So we all were lying in the border about 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
In like, at the station, on the grounds. There was nobody. That was a small little town where they changed the trains from Poland, Germany to Poland, Germany. There was no houses, no nothing. We were lying on the street there. My father-in-law happened to be in Belgium, although he's a Polish citizen, but Belgium wasn't in the war yet, and he got us, wait a moment, sent us money. We were all thrown out with 10 marks only, and he telegraphed money to Posen, to the next biggest town. My husband, he was not my husband yet, he was my fiancé, smuggled himself behind the station and gave money to the train station there, got himself to Posen, the next biggest town, and that's how he got in touch with his father-in-law and his father, and got money to get 22 people from the whole camp who were our own family. We all 22 people smuggled back out again into Poland to bribe the guards, and we got into Poland. When the big war started again into Poland, when Germany ran into Poland, overran us again in Poland. We were waiting for an American visa to go to America because we applied a long time ago and didn't come in time. So when the Germans overrun us again, we are stuck in Poland again with a Polish passport, can't get a visa, can't get out anywhere, nothing could be done. I was with my mother and the family, he was with his mother and his family, and then we got married, and as we were minors, I was 17, my husband was 20, so as we were minors, his father put in the Polish consulate in Belgium a Polish passport, which bought a false visa to Shanghai, which wasn't a proper visa, paid lending money for Shanghai, paid boat tickets for the ships to go onto the boat, or put into Holland. And on this we got the permission from the German government, the occupation government, to get out. Well, only about 2 months the whole time that under German government that they let the Jews out. But I tried after, the moment I arrived to Shanghai to get my mother out, nobody could get out.
No one could get out.
Nobody.
So you were in Shanghai?
So I was 9 years in Shanghai.
9 years? You were part of the Mizrachi with it, eh?
Yes, or we took the yeshiva out. I just want to say that in Shanghai we went through another issue. In Shanghai, the Japanese took over Shanghai soon after, and so we were put into a ghetto for 2.5 years because the German put pressure on the Japanese to exterminate all the Jews. We had also the yeshivot and all the Russian Jews, we had the Sephardi Jews, and we had new refugee income from all the yeshivot from Lithuania, who we had with us there. And the Chinese didn't want to, not the Chinese, the Japanese didn't want to exterminate us, but they made a ghetto. So I was 2.5 years in the ghetto. My son was born in the ghetto, the oldest son. And after our war finished much later than the European war. The Japanese war finished much later. So we had 2.5 years, and then we came out of the ghetto. We did very well in business after, and we tried to get into America again. American consulate does not want to say no, but he didn't want to say yes. So we are still in the air waiting and waiting. Also my husband had already an American mother now, an American sister. I had 4 American uncles. We had money in our name in America in the Chase Manhattan Bank there, and no way that you could push it. So we decided started a business, and we did very well. So we decided in Shanghai. So we thought if we can't get into America, we stay. And we were doing well. In the meantime, when I got out of the ghetto, I had the other child, the second one, the girl. And not long after, starts Smart Song going forward and coming and into going forward. Thank you. And the foreigners were very worried about that they would throw out the foreigners, and some foreigners were even killed on the way to Peking and so on. And we see them coming nearer, and we had to get out, and we still had that Polish passport. We still had the Polish passport, we still couldn't go anywhere. Nobody wants to give us a visa to any country. So my husband made himself a Polish visa because they can't refuse us entry, transit France, for 1 week France.
To go to France?
Transit France, only transit for 1 week. And we came to Paris, we had a cousin in Nice, and he told us, come to Nice, and you can do something with fixing something up. You know, not permanent, but that we can stay there. In the meantime, my family were trying here in Australia to get us permission to come there. We were waiting 7 months in Nice until the permission came to come to Australia. So then I came with 2 little children to Australia. So I was 9 years in Shanghai, and then we settled in Australia, and that was the end of it.
So so you said you went to Paris, and from Paris to Australia?
Yeah. First of all, the first immigration from Europe went over Italy by boat, 6 weeks by boat. From China to France by plane already. And from France to Australia by boat again. So I've done everything.
Thank you very much.
Precious dress.
See, where is monkeys?
Good enough for me.
Well, you stop it now. You want to stop it now?
It's very difficult to be an artist. You know why? Because during the history, during the times since the beginning of time, the beginning of the information that we have about Rabbanim that were here in Prague, we can see in the documents that it was very difficult for them in their life between them and the Rosh HaKahal, the head of the community. It seems to me that Sadna Da'ar Achadu, it's the same all over the world also today, but it began then. So, Dr. Davis mentioned the Malbim. I don't know if you know the story, but the Malbim ran away from Kihilot. Until he settled in Bucharest, he was in big trouble with a lot of communities that he was a rabbi there. The same story was with the Maharal. the Maharal a genius in all terms of words. Not just a scholar, someone who could read Torah, Gemara, and the old Pardes, Shat, Remesh, Drosh, V'chot, in different views that no one have done it until these days, in some exceptions, for example, the Rambam and so on. And in his day, plus minus, the Ramo, Rabbeinu Moshe Isserlich, and the Marshal, but he was something unique. There is a story about him that during the time that he became a Rav here, he was asked to marry a girl. Her father was a rich person. They decided about the Nadan, the Dunya, but unfortunately he passed away. And there was a problem. All the money went out, it was vanished, nothing else. No one could arrange the wedding. And the Maharal decided to wait almost 12 years until he got married with the same girl. She baked bread and sold it to people. That she would bring the money that her father told the family of the Maharal that he's going to give him as another. This is another story. The Maharal himself was, as I mentioned before, a scholar. But not only the books that he wrote, the psakim that he gave the Jewish community here can show us a way how to behave in every day. For example, when we will arrive tomorrow to the synagogue Altnoi, you will see there the Takanot HaKahal, which is Professor Shakir Takanot, regulations of the community. They have been written by him. He was the man who established it. Even though the heads of the community didn't like it. And it was a big quarrel between them. And because of that, people don't know it. But that was the real reason why the Maharal left Prague and went to Poznan. And stayed in Poznan for 2 years, and then came back to Prague after they decided that they will do something for him and they will get what he wants, and he will get what he wants, and that's it. 5 years later, he's living again. And then coming back. He was a man with strength to push the people to do according to the halakha, the thing, but not in Darkei Noam. That we have to emphasize. Not in Darkei Noam. Later on, after he passed away, there were a lot of stories about him. But those stories concerning the golem and so on, we should speak about them tomorrow. Those stories are showing the people are showing us how the people in Prague wanted that he will be remembered as the rabbi. For example, there is a story tomorrow night when we will go to pray Kabbalat Shabbat, we will see that the community in Prague is saying Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat twice. They are finishing and starting again. So the story, the legend about it is that the golem has done something wrong, and the Maharal forgot to take out of his mouth the Shem HaMeforash, and because of that, the Maharal went in a hurry back home to say to the golem, to take from the golem the Shem HaMeforash, and when he come back, they already finished his Moshe Leyom HaShabbat, so in his honor, they started it again. You know, the historians don't like such stories. They are looking for chronics, they are looking for papers, for documents, they are seeking for something that, an evidence. It was true or not. Unfortunately, the story of saying Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat twice started not in Prague, before that in Jerusalem. And it was copied in Prague. But never mind, the legend is a legend, and it's good to hear it. I want to tell you only about some other rabbis who have been here in Prague, and also some information about the Maharal, which I didn't tell you until now. And I will make it short. First of all, he wrote so many books, and I will tell you some of them. Or Hadash, it's about Megillat Esther. Be'er HaGolah, about Ma'amarei Chazal. Gur Aryeh, which is interpretation of Rashi of the Torah. Gvurat Hashem, about the Haggadah of Pesach. Derech Chaim, about Pirkei Avot. By the way, he wrote the Derech Chaim because he called this book Derech Chaim because of a problem. He had a brother, Reb Chaim from Friedberg. Friedberg is a town in Austria, not far from Wiener Neustadt, not far from Wien, the place where we have been. This brother was the Chavruta. This brother was the Chavruta of the Ramah. And they wrote each other letters and so on. After the problems that have been created in Vienna during those times, in the 16th century, there was a disconnection between the Maharal and his brother. He wrote him a letter, the letter came back with the unknown answer, and the Maharal was upset. He sent someone to seek for him. This gentleman had been in Friedberg and came back and said to the Maharal, sorry, no Jews in Friedberg. And the Maharal was afraid because his brother passed away. He couldn't sit Shiva of him because, you know, there was no evidence about the story. And he called the Pirush of Pirkei Avot Darkei Chaim on behalf of his brother's name. When he finished, his brother came to Prague. And there was a reunion between them. So this is another story. Another book that he wrote is Netzach Israel, which is very important to this time. It's about the Geulah, Golos, and Biat HaMashiach. Netivot Olam, about moral. And Tiferet Israel, about the Torah and mitzvot. And more and more and more and more. He passed away in 1609, and he lived almost 90 years. Since 1512, when he was born in Poznan, until 1609. Now, there were other rabbis, important rabbis here. For example, Hashlach, Rabbi Yishayahu ben Avraham Alevi Horvitz, Rabbi Yom Tov Lippman, Baal HaTosfot Yom Tov, and one gentleman that in this list I will finish, that in my point of view, and according to what a lot of historians are saying, if he was not the man who have done what he have done, a lot of the Jewish history in Europe, we would not knew anything about it. And I'm speaking about David Oppenheim, Rav David Oppenheim, was a Rav here, which his library is in Oxford today. Unfortunately, the Hebrew University couldn't afford to buy it. And from his library, a lot of historians are studying what happened to the Jews until the 17th century. So I would like to mention him because he is also in the Czech Republic today. It's called Mikolov. So I tried only to give you a little, view about those Gdolim. And I do hope that tomorrow you will hear some more details and information concerning the synagogues that you will visit, concerning the Beit HaKvarot, the Beis Oilem, and concerning Jewish life that started here on the 10th century, and since then, until 1939, in few exceptions, Jews have lived here. It was a source of Torah for all Europe, especially in the years until the 16th century. And a lot of communication between the Rabbanim that have been here and Rabbanim who have been in Germany, in the Rhine area, or in Poland, in Krakow. A lot of those letters gives us information how Jews have been here, what they have done, what was their way of living, and of course a lot of shut, sheilot v'tshuvot, that is the base of the regulations that we have today. Thank you.
Please help yourself to coffee, and dessert will be served now, and then we'll make the announcement.
Okay.
Jews approximately, but since then, in the Holocaust, they perished. They killed 77,000 Jews. You will see they killed 77,000 Jews. You will see the memorial synagogue. On behalf of them, where on the walls it's written all the names of those 77,000 Jews. And today, unfortunately, only 1,000 Jews are here. Mostly they are old people. The youngsters are working, you know, in all the professions that people have. No, as far as I know. Okay, see you later.
He's a Ger Tzedek. I hope you will have a chance to meet with him during Shabbat. We hope to see him. And he's doing a great job. He's coming from time to time to Eretz Israel. He studied there, he studied here. He's a very good, as we said yesterday, last night, and I know it from talking to him. That was a group of people, the resistance, with the president, Václav, good friend of the president, and the director Havel, and the director of the Jewish Museum here, which is today a very, very big, I'm sorry to say, you can't be, it's fantastic to see this greatness of the synagogue. We will enter in a few minutes to the Spanish synagogue at Knesset Sfaradim. It's really amazing to see the colors and the huge synagogue, but if we are so happy to see it, on the other hand, you can only cry to understand probably the terrible thing that happened in the Shoah. People that really used, can you imagine just to close your eyes and just to think, thousands and thousands of Jews davening in this shul, in Pinkas, in this one, in the Altnoy shul, is a small shul, but in the other shuls, and today, the situation today, that they are so poor, or so, and we talked about this in Hungary, I said it about the conservative, but even worse is the Orthodox are much worse. It's a very small group of Haredic people, or Plitei Cherem. That's what remains of this Shoah. So sometimes the tragedy, you can feel it much more stronger. I'm not talking being in Theresienstadt to see really the Machanot Mavet, etc., where and how they lived here and how they died here. Kira Mavet and some other things, you know, the wall when they put people and shot them to death, etc. So we will have really, it's a great, on one hand, great pleasure to visit here, but on the other hand, you are getting a tzvita balev, you are getting something to see that all this beautiful, all this pe'er really went down.
What's an halach question? He wrote some interpretation perush of the Torah. He also was engaged in philosophical areas of thought and Kabbalah. So he was very, very special man. And you know, the legend of the golem, nobody knows whether it's true, because only 200 years after he died, the story started to appear, that the golem, like of a robot that he made, and that maybe it was a wishful thinking of the Jews that they were suffering so much that some power will, a miracle will happen and somebody will help them. So it was maybe a source of comfort for the Jews to have the idea that this is possible, you know, something like the golem. לא, אבל אני יודע שאנחנו כאן. Maybe there is a big line.
So what's the problem? Walk over?
No, we cannot walk over because if we don't have tickets, we cannot get. There are a lot of groups, as you can see, so maybe he's stuck on the line, waiting for it. We'll wait for him. I'm sure he will come. Here and book.
Does the Jewish community of God today use these communal?
We started the cemetery The Rabbi Avigdor Torah, which I mentioned, is the first one to be buried in the 15th century, and then they used it until the end of the 18th century, something like 1787. Since then, it's not used anymore because you will see it's very. There are layers.
There are 7 layers.
Several layers.
Several or seven?
They have one. For example, the Nodabi Yehuda.
You have here.
He's not buried here in this cemetery. He's buried out there.
Are we going to put a circle on the grave like
Of the Maharal, yes.
all of the circles?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the least we can do. In fact,
We don't do anything for publicity.
Just, it was not important for them to show the Jewish community that existed here. But after they fell apart, the communist regime, after not exactly on the same year, but 5 years later, the property was given back to the Jewish community, and since that time, they are the owners of it.
Given back by whom?
By the government. By the government. I'm sure there is. In the museum which are going to visit.
Come on, please.
We are now, the first point of our visit is Meisel Synagogue. This is Meisel Synagogue. Mordechai Meisel was the head of the community. He was a very wealthy man, and he built a synagogue and also the Clausen Synagogue, which I'm going to see later. He was the mayor of, as I told you, it was actually a municipality, so he was the mayor. It was at the time of the Maharal. At the end of the 16th century, this house was built in 1590, and it was demolished or burned something like 70 years later, and renewed in the Baroque style afterwards. You see, the street is called Maislova after him. He was a very famous man, not only for Jews, but also a very recognized man in Prague. We are going inside. Inside there is an exhibition of the Jewish history between the 10th and the 18th century, and a lot of Judaica objects. So we are going inside.
Beautiful parapet, yeah.
Are you allowed to take a picture of this?
No, you can still do it.
Old new synagogue, which is marked with Magen David. Afterwards, we will visit all these places. Number 3 is the Pinkas Synagogue, the cemetery, the Clausen Synagogue, and the ceremonial hall of the Chevra Kadisha. So everything is very close in this area. You should imagine how it looked like 100, 200 years ago, not with these high buildings, but very small ones. And then we are going to the Alt Noon. Yechezkel will give you the speech over there about the shul and about the Maharal. We spoke a little bit about it. But you should know Alt Noon, it's not true. Alt Noon in German is old new. Old new synagogue. But this is not the reason why it is called old new. It is just people, of course, people who don't know our tradition. Old new, it's something that they can understand. But it's actually al-tnai. Al-tnai, on condition. Because atidim batek netiyot, you will be in the future, לעלות לארץ ישראל. So shoes in the future will be transferred to Eretz Israel. That's why it is al-tnai, on condition. It's not really a permanent building. And you will see it's very unique, the oldest synagogue in Europe. And then you go downstairs because there are 2 reasons. one reason is because of the church that is behind it. Shouldn't be higher than the church, so it has to be down. And the other reason, and that's why the Chazan is standing also even lower, Mima'amakim kraticha Hashem. From down I will call you. From the depth. From the depth, yeah, from the depth. Okay, this building is the Jewish community, and there is also a restaurant and the offices of the Jewish community. You will see the clock on the other side, very interesting. Let's go and pay attention to the garden behind the old new synagogue. There is of course the symbol of Israel, Haganah, the army that used to be before Prague and Israel. Israel Defense Forces. It's different to the Czechoslovak Republic for her support during the War of Independence of Israel in 1948 in training pilots, paratroopers and other members of the air and land forces and for the delivery of arms and military equipment. Association of the Veterans of Haganah. So this is a famous story. Ezer Weizmann, you know, our president, was here for quite a time. He was trained as a pilot. Then they gave us airplanes, they gave us a lot of ammunition. Actually, this is the way we could win the war of independence in 1948.
Miles of Lava Street, right across the road, the Alpine Shore.
Then the basin had broken this halak on this stone, so you can see the stone. On the left side of me and behind of me are small rooms. I don't know how to call it. This one is the tax collector's kupa. They collect the taxes, also from the butchers, and they put the money inside here. Those people who didn't want to pay would go to the tree. So here you have the tree. This one is the tree tax. The jail.
They want to make it a
small one. Small one because only one or two didn't pay the tax. The others have paid it. Goes to the synagogue, you will see that the door and have some wines on it. This is a Jewish symbol. The wines which are here and also above the Aron Kodesh. Wine. Grape. It's a Jewish symbol. This was in origin in the beginning when they built the synagogue. But there on the left side, they added only on the 16th century the Edat machine, which is, there is a small door there. If you look from the inside of the synagogue, you will see that the Edat machine is a small one. A narrow one and a small one. So let's go to the clock.
Clock with Hebrew letters, and it goes also over there, opposite direction. That's like Hebrew letters. Yeah. So go and have a look if you want to take a picture from A. He was also a philosopher, and at that time, you know, in the 15th century, Jews, there was, I can't call it tradition, but it was used, the Jews were having discussions with the Christians. Which religion is the best or the right one, the dialogue? And it is said that the king of Bohemia at that time confessed to him, he was leading one of these discussions, one of these dialogues, that he actually convinced him that the true religion is the Jewish one. Didn't help us very much.
No. What does it say? It says restaurant Ustare Synagogue.
Yeah.
What is organ?
Yeah.
Spanish for that.
It was a synagogue, it's not...
Don't the Yidden, don't the Jews.
Does it resemble to you something?
Moorish.
Doheny, yeah.
Yeah.
That's English. You can do everything you want. Well, as you can see, this is a Moorish style synagogue, just like the Duhani, but not as big as the Duhani. It was built in 1867 by the Spanish community. You know, they were here from the 11th century, and afterwards, after Gerush Farad, they came some more. It is called Spaniol. It is really not East European Nusach Sfarad, what we call, but actually Sfaradim. It came here from Italy, but not Italian, Spanish. This is the Spanish shul. The Spanish synagogue. This is the name. Spanish synagogue. As I said, 1867, not many years ago. And it was built, actually there was here an older one from the 11th century, and they built on top of it this one. Nowadays, it was part of the museum, as I told you. It has the tradition of the history of the Jews in this area, of Moravia and Bohemia, and it also is used for concerts, small chamber music, Jewish music. Sometimes there is a performance inside. During the Second World War, it was not damaged, it was used as a warehouse for several big German food inside. No, they do not use it anymore. The only shoes that I use are the Alp Noi Shul and the Jubilee, the Yerushalmi, which we are going to Hashem tomorrow morning. And on holidays, I was told by Michael that in the summer, when there are a lot of tourists who come to the Alp Noi, they open the Hoch Shul, the High Shul, also for prayer. So let's go inside. Them is called Pilkas on the other side, and this one is called Klausen. Klausen synagogue on this side. Klaus in German is small place, small building, stable. Though it is actually, it is the biggest synagogue here from the older time. Not that I wasn't a Spanish synagogue, but Mordechai Meiser, which we mentioned earlier, he founded this shul in 1593 when the Emperor Maximilian II was coming to visit. They founded here. You see, this is the exit or the entrance to the cemetery. There should be a place where the Tahara will take place and everything. So it was a Sedim, so this was in this building, and as I told you, it was demolished in 1911, actually after there were no more burials here in this cemetery, this house was built. We'll go inside, and inside you can see an exhibition of, I told you, dyeing, the paintings or drawings, dyeing, all the process, all the procedures of one dyeing, the tahara and the shiva and the burial, the shiva. Afterwards, we'll go, I suggest all together, so we'll meet downstairs. We go to the Klausen Synagogue, which is also an exhibition. It's a part of the Jewish Museum.
When you finish there,
come out. old person is ill and he's dying, they're saying that he's ill, and then they put him on the floor and they are throwing the double thing and then how they wash him and they take him.
He was fortunately died in bed and crashed by
These are takanot, לפי טבע קדיש שלהם. Thanks for calling.